So how does a load balancer distribute the load to these servers? Or in other words, how does a load balancer allocates a server to an incoming request? Now it can distribute the load randomly, but then the problem is that it might send all the requests or most of the requests to a single server, which defeats the purpose of having a load balancer. So load balancers use some predefined algorithms to distribute the load across the servers. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the standard algorithms used by load balancers. First one is round robin. Round robin is the simplest way to distribute the traffic. In this algorithm, the first request is forwarded to the first server, then the second request to the second server, and so on down to the last. And once it reaches the end of the list, it starts again from the top, assigning the next request to the first server and so on. Okay? Next is weighted round robin. Now, each server in your system might have different traffic handling capacities. And so what you can do is you can assign weights to each server based on their traffic handling capacity. So basically a more powerful server will get a higher weight. Now the load balancer in this case would still go from top to bottom just like in round robin method, but it will assign more requests to the servers with higher weights than the ones with lower weights. Okay? Next is least connection. The least connection algorithm considers the load on the servers and assigns the incoming request to the server that is currently serving the fewest number of requests. Okay? Next is source IP hash. This is another very popular algorithm. Basically, this algorithm distributes the load based on the IP address of the client who has sent the request. So what the load balancer does is that it hashes the IP address to generate a hash value. And then this hash value is used to select a server which will serve this request. Which means that requests from a particular client will always be directed to the same server. Of course, because the hash value of a particular IP address will always be the same. Now, for some use cases, this algorithm is quite useful. And I'll talk about these use cases later on. Okay? Next is URL hash. Much like source IP hash, except hashing is done using the URL of the request. Which means this algorithm guarantees that a particular URL will always hit the same server. And so this algorithm is used in situations where each server serves a unique content. Okay? So these are some of the standard algorithms that are used by load balancers to distribute the traffic. So you can choose an algorithm that fits your use case. Or you can also use multiple algorithms at the same time. For example, suppose you have one set of servers serving one type of content and another set of servers serving another type of content. So what you can do is you can make all the clients send their requests to a load balancer which uses URL hash algorithm. And based on the URL of the request, or in other words, based on the content requested, this load balancer will either forward the request to the first set of servers or the second set. And then you can add another layer of load balancers, one for each set of servers. And these load balancers can use round robin method to distribute the traffic to these servers. Okay? So in this way, you can use multiple algorithms in your system at the same time. Okay?